All right, well, it is 5:03. We'll go ahead and call the public hearing to order. Thank everybody for coming to be here with us. We'll go ahead and get up and running. We do have two different requests that we're going to do both at the same time. We have a requirement under our county ordinance that requires anytime somebody files a request wishing to basically end county maintenance or end a road, that it does require a public hearing to have the opportunity for public input. We'll go through each one individually, so I'll pull up the first and then we'll move on to the second, and then we'll go from there to where the board will listen to comments as we go. So I'll open it up to public discussion. When we do open it up for the discussion, you have 3 minutes to speak, ask questions as to if you don't understand. We'll try our best to explain what the request has been while we're going through, so that everybody understands what's been requested. I think that sometimes when you look at a legal ad, it may not be as clear as to what the actual intent of what's being requested is. And so we'll go through that portion, and then we'll come back at the end, and if there's a requirement or if there's a need to vote on those, then we'll vote on them. If it's something that needs to be tabled to a future meeting and vote, then we'll go at that point. But we're going to listen to the public's input. We're not just going to put that up to go through. As was stated in the ad for the meeting, the purpose of the meeting is to conduct a public hearing to determine if the following sections of county road system have any reason cease to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by them, or that their removal from the county road system is otherwise in the best interest of the public. And then it's a section of one portion of Hunters Ridge Road and then Mountain Laurel Drive. So we'll move first into Hunters Ridge Road. This is a section of Hunters Ridge Road to be considered. It's a portion of a cul-de-sac located on lot 144. What I was doing as we were going through was just trying to open the map system in QPublic so that we could look and just see on the map where that particular piece of property is. It's really not going to make a whole lot of sense, but it should. Oh, is it not displayed on the screen? Oh. Hey, I can see it over here really well. For some reason, it's not going through to any of the screens where we're at. When I pulled it up, I thought it was automatically displayed. So we're not going to have the visual aid of where it is. I'll do my best to describe for those that don't know. On Hunters Ridge Drive, probably 3/4 of the way down before the end of the road, it's where the previous end of the road was. There was a cul-de-sac, and then later it was developed further out. So there was a cul-de-sac, it got developed out. One of the residents at some point in time has on their own free will, prior to many years ago, took away the round portion of the cul-de-sac on the left side of the road if you're driving down Hunters Ridge Road, to where it's a straight line. The other still remains as the previous semicircle of the cul-de-sac. The property owner has requested that be made part of the regular road system, that it no longer have that half cul-de-sac there. And that's the reason that we've had the public hearing scheduled, was because they were requesting to have that portion of that cul-de-sac removed from the county road system, and it become part of their property at that point, so that they could do similar to what had occurred across the street from them. We did reach out to both the school system and the fire department to see is that used as a turnaround. Both have indicated that they don't use it presently. I think the school system had indicated they don't have a bus that goes on a route down there, so they don't turn around at that location. The fire department had looked at it and said there's not enough room to turn around a fire truck. It's half of a cul-de-sac, so it did not create the ability to do a turnaround at that point in time. So those were the two things that we had reached out prior to, and then we've scheduled the public hearing to give people an opportunity to say if they believe that is an issue, or if they're in support. So we've scheduled the hearing, and we're going to open up the floor to any public comments or questions at this time. So if you can just raise your hand, that way we're not all speaking on top of each other, and we'll let you know. Yes, sir.
I'm the owner of the lot that we're talking about right now. I went out and got signatures of surrounding neighbors who agreed with me that it should be taken out. And just a couple reasons why. For one, I believe that we should have the same right as everyone else at that end to build, with the cost not having to be increased by the slope of the lot. Another is it's really just being used as additional parking for the neighborhood. Every time that I've driven by there, that's all that I see. Excuse me. Also, I've seen lawn clippings, limbs, just a bunch of stuff like that thrown onto the property, and it's just piling up. You know, and it's gonna have to be taken out eventually whenever a house is built there. So, and as far as turnarounds, I agree with the fire department. I don't think you could turn around a fire truck there. Like, it would have to park or go down to Marlin Way and back up and just go that way, which is probably 500 feet down, maybe a little bit more, which I'm sure is doable to someone that's driving a fire truck every day. So, yeah.
Okay.
The signatures, if you want them.
Yeah, you can. Well, if you want to go ahead and bring those up, that'd be fine.
Something like, is it this little part right here? Is that what we're
Yeah,
talking about?
okay, that's it. That's what I was trying to zoom in,
Yeah.
it would go to everybody's
This is
screen.
the end of that road. It shows where the road widens, and that's my truck parked there. And this is a massive driveway.
Yeah.
That if a fire truck did want to turn around, this would probably be more optimal to use.
That's the very end of the road?
That's the very end of the road, and that's the,
Yeah, there was no cul-de-sac place at the
Right.
end. Just put in, it's just the driveway points. Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing those up. All right, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have notes. Do I have to stand up?
You don't have to stand up.
Okay. The plat for that lot 144 shows a easement which could be used as the turnaround or the cul-de-sac, but that is part of the plat. Granted, people have probably taken advantage of that over the last 30 years, but there is no way that commercial vehicles or fire trucks can, if they had to go to the end of the road, and these people live at the end of the road, there's no way a fire truck can turn around. You're not supposed to turn around in private driveways. There's no way a fire truck could turn around down there. The waste companies that service our area, I had hoped that they would be here, but I don't see them. Waste Pro and JMS.
He's in there. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Good.
They
have big trucks.
They have big trucks, and the day I called to see if they could come to the meeting, one of their drivers had just come in and was very livid because she had to back up from the end of the road to Marlin Way, which is almost half a mile. And that's asking a lot of a trash truck driver. But
It's
anyway,
dangerous.
Dangerous, safety.
It's dangerous,
curves,
it's safety, it's curvy, it's up and down.
And it's residential street.
But there is an easement on lot 144 where the cutout could be limited to.
Like you said, we don't have any school buses right now going down there, but it could happen if somebody has kids.
Nobody's to say that there won't be kids there sometime.
Right.
But
And there was a school bus, I think, for the last few years.
Okay.
fire trucks, important.
Fire trucks, school buses, the waste people.
And large delivery vehicles, but the waste people are there once a week. That's
Each
a
of
daily
them,
thing.
each of them.
And, you know, the delivery trucks, the big box trucks come down there, they have a place to turn around. Even landscapers, with their pickup, if they got a good sized trailer, they almost have to turn there. But the weight of like the Waste Pro trucks, they're heavy, you don't want them on a private drive. You're liable to break the concrete out. You know, so it's a safety thing. And we have one other thing. The fire code, the IFC fire code for 2018, which is, there's a later one, but for Georgia is a part of the 2018 fire code about the day in, about required space where they have to have a turnaround field.
Right.
You want us to read that?
No, it's perfectly fine. I'm making a note here for referencing the turnaround occupancy, and I know that the fire department had actually, we have a printed, yeah, we'll keep
I
a
brought her
copy
to
of
the
that.
civil engineer, she does this stuff.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think it's a simple question. If people go down that road and you remove it, they cannot turn around. Is that reasonable? I mean, the only way they would be able to turn around is using other people's driveways. There is no other way to turn around.
Yes, ma'am.
And by the time they get to us, they're mad.
They're the people at the end of the road who get all the turnarounds.
Okay.
I mean, there's a small turnaround, but even with the car, you can't make too much shot.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
So I actually did my homework. So about 4 years ago, there was a car breakup in that neighborhood out there. So I put a camera on that circle, not realizing that it was going to be used for good use today. So I do have video of the fire truck going there. It was able to turn on just fine. If you want to see the video, you're more than welcome to. It was a 3-point turn. He came in, turned, went to the far right, came in, backed up, and pulled out of there. I got video from the last 2.5 weeks of several trailers, big trailers making U-turns there, the UPS truck, the FedEx truck, and Amazon comes down there.
And Waste Pro.
And then I got Waste Pro. I'm the first house past it. Waste Pro, the girl does a great job. But she flips a U-turn there and backs up 200 feet up to my house. It's about 200 feet, I measured it. From that point where the turnaround is, there's not, I think he said 200 feet, it's actually 400 yards as a crow flies, so it's probably more like a quarter mile. From the last place you can turn around, Marlin Way he was referring to, is actually 3.9 miles or 700, I think it was 690 yards away, so almost 700 yards away. The person that took that part of that cul-de-sac out, I gotta be careful when I say it. Is this on TV? Well, I don't want to say something on TV because I tell you guys, but I don't want the public to hear what I'm going to say. It can't be here today. The person that lives right next to the cul-de-sac went to the hospital last night. I don't have the video, but you can look on your county logs. I think it was on October 5th. I was looking at my camera on that cul-de-sac because I like to look for the animals. And at 1:45 in the morning, there was an ambulance. There was an ambulance that was parked down the road because it set my sensors off, and it actually come down and made a U-turn. And Art can tell you more that in the last couple of weeks, he's seen another ambulance come down and use that cul-de-sac. I have no problem with anybody building a house. I think my wife and I, we'd be more than welcome if somebody built a house there. And I would have no problem if you took the cul-de-sac out, but you're going to have to build a cul-de-sac somewhere else. Down at the end of the road, but that's another story from what I hear, and I don't know anything about that story. Hold on. I have one more point. Oh, so I was sitting there telling my wife when I first saw the sign go up, and I'm not sure if the county didn't send any letters to anybody's houses, but there's a sign there. A lot of people in the neighborhood didn't see that sign. There's 22 houses past the last point you can make a left turn before you go down to the end. 22 houses. I guarantee you a lot of people don't realize that there's a public hearing tonight. Where I come from, which I don't want to admit to where I came from, but the county or the city is required to send notices out to people that could be have an issue with this. So when I told my wife, hey, I'm not going to have an issue with this because nobody's going to turn around my driveway. My driveway is too small, so I don't really care. But then I'm thinking, wait a minute. Since I've been up there for 5 years, I've had some deliveries made up there, and it's interesting. I didn't realize what they were asking me. Can a truck make a U-turn up there? If we set a truck down there, can they make a turn? And I'm thinking, well, no, they can't. So I had a delivery just 4 months ago from Home Depot, and the only reason they could make my delivery is because of that turnaround there.
What happened to the minute?
And that's what I was going to let you finish that statement. We passed the 3 minutes on that comment, but I've noted.
I feel like people don't quite understand that this thing is actually on our property. And you guys all know how the lots are up there. They're like this. You only have the front to build on. That means our whole front yard is for your parking and for your turning around. When people have been turning around, they said the fire trucks, they said ambulances are fine, the school buses. I live on a dirt road, and I've had Carvana deliver trucks on it, and they've made it. It is nothing like the big giant turnaround you have at the end. So what you're doing is you're taking away our property. This is it's literally our plat, and it goes over our property. And all we're asking is so we can build a house here and have a nice driveway where people don't think that it's their turnaround.
I don't think anybody has a problem with you building a house there.
That's what it sounds like, because that's what it's
No, no, no,
preventing
no.
us from doing.
No.
Hang on one second, I'm gonna stop right here. We're not gonna start going back and forth with each other. That's not how public hearings are conducted.
But
We will point out that the road system, that is part of the county's property, actually. That road system was given to the county when the roads were built, so that
We
cul-de-sac
made a
is
lot
part
of
of the
phone calls that
county's
said
road system.
otherwise. It wasn't an easement, it was our,
So, yeah.
So with an easement, doesn't there have to be a deed?
there's no
or a
deed
title?
for it, nobody
Like you
owns
keep
it,
calling
other
it
than
an
us.
easement, but there's nothing.
It's part of the original road system.
And the people across the street, they cut it out. Why aren't they required to put theirs back so they can actually turn around? Because you can't, like everybody has said, it's
I
a three-point
understand.
turn.
And to explain the way that the law is written, the public process is that we hold a public hearing. If it's opposed, then we will not continue to move forward with removing something from the county road system. And it's obvious we have opposition from neighbors within that use that as a part of the road system. So due to the opposition, it's not something that we would consider to move forward. If a single person is deprived their right with something being removed from the county road system,
But
it
me
requires
being
that.
deprived of the right. So
Yeah, it makes our lot worthless.
Right,
It makes
I
it really difficult
apologize
to
for
sell,
that,
we
but
bought it,
that's the way
and now
that
we're
it's
stuck with
set
this
in.
thing.
So-
But we can actually build right onto that
Yeah,
permanent
what happens if we
foundation.
build onto it?
People are allowed to just park
You
in front of
still can't
us.
build onto the county's right of way.
We-
So,
We're right, but could people still use it as a turnaround? I mean,
Like,
once
once
the
our house
road
is
now
there?
is not part of the property, it's part of the road easement, it's just like
It
any
shows
other
on the
road
lot
that
that
goes
it's
through
part of the
property.
property.
So, we're gonna move on to the next item that's on the agenda. I appreciate you guys coming in, and we've got one more that goes in. All right, the second road that we have under consideration is a section of Mountain Laurel Drive. That's the portion located at the terminus of said roadway, which means it's at the end of the road. The property owner owns the section that's at the end of the road. I wish that our map would pull up. This one you can actually see more clearly. The road dead ends into the property.
I actually have a plot if anybody would like to see that on hand.
Okay, and so you've got it. But the road, Mountain Laurel Drive, dead ends into this person's property. They own what's at the end of it and own what's all around it. And what the request is to terminate that portion of the county road that is part of the access going into their property. It's a little bit simpler. It's not a cul-de-sac, it's just a portion at the end of the road that is being asked to terminate the county maintenance of the road prior to that property line. Mr. France, if you want to, I'll let you start off in the public hearing if you've got comments you want to make, and then we'll listen if anyone has any additional comments or questions on that.
Ultimately, last year, my mother was in an accident that left her paralyzed. That portion that I've filed to be abandoned by the county is actually already abandoned. Trees are growing in the middle of the roads. It's not taken care of. It is by far the best placed and cheapest place for me to build, to be there next to my mom and my dad. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it.
There is no I own property that he's talking about
Yes, sir.
on the other side of the road. That did, when they built the property, graded the road and everything, way back in the 80s, they had a turnaround there, a cul-de-sac. But then over the years, the maintenance on it get less and less and less. And it's now probably, what, 200 plus feet?
200. I have pictures if anybody would like to see that as well.
That
It's
is-
easily 200 feet. That's also marked on the plat to
So-
show where there's just.
And that is the end of the road, and there is no cul-de-sac.
Right.
So people, maintenance people, the power people, the trash people, they come down to pick up the trash and they back up.
Okay.
So it's, I guess his request is different than, it's just whether or not you officially abandon it.
Right, it's just not been maintained, but it's still part of the road system at this point, but it's an unmaintained section of the road. Do we have anyone else here that was wishing to speak on that portion of road? All right, well, thank you guys for presenting that. We can go ahead and move forward with votes on both items. As I stated before, the way that the law states, if there is opposition to a request to abandon a portion of the road, then it does kill that. But we'll go ahead and formally put that up for a vote first, and then we will put the other one up for a vote as well. The first one, get my slideshow pulled back up as I was trying to show the map that didn't ever come up on the screen. The first one is for the section of Hunter's Ridge Road, right there at lot 144. With that, I know that we did have opposition. Do I have a motion that we deny the request to abandon that portion of road?
So moved. Second.
Move to second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to the next on Mountain Laurel Drive, the terminus of the road to terminate that road at the edge of that property line. Do I have a motion that we approve the abandonment of that portion of road?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
I want to ask you, where exactly would it be in, where are we gonna end the maintenance?
Right at that line. Right
Okay, so that line?
there. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just where it curls it.
Okay. Okay.
So right at the edge of the property line.
Okay.
All right, so I have a move and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries on that. All right, well, that will conclude our public hearing. We will adjourn the public hearing portion. I know that it is 5:25. We do have our regular board meeting that will start at 5:30, so anyone that's wishing to stay for that, we'll kick that off in 5 minutes. Thank everybody for coming.